What's going on, everybody? It's the Old Weep, and today I'm talking about a thing about GamerGate 2 that kind of gets lost in all the culture war stuff, is that we're looking at the aftermath of all the DEI, woke, etc. game journalist nonsense going on, and kind of missing what I think is the greatest victims of this entire fiasco, and that's the genuinely good queer characters that existed in gaming and media in general. There's nothing wrong necessarily with gay characters. Gamers don't hate gay characters. Gamers don't hate trans characters. Gamers don't hate anyone of the alphabet mafia, LGBT, how you want to call them. They just hate being force-fed it if it's not good. Like, genuinely not good characters. I have so many characters I can think of who are part of that group of people who are beloved not because of what they are, but who they are. Let's get into it. Now, I'm going to go through a list of some names and see how you guys remember these characters. Dorian, Sarah, Celine, Cream, Josephine, Liliana, Celery, De Morphor, Vi, Caitlin, Ramona Flowers, Wallace Wells, Anders, Fenris, Isabel, Mira, Syria, Tracer, Emily, Freya, Soldier 17, Vincent, Caden, Chloe, every single party member of Baldur's Gate 3. All these characters are part of the LGBTQ. And in relation to that, we love all of these characters. We love every single one of them. And want to know why we love them? Because their writing is amazing. No one cares about their sexual orientation because it's not the intrinsic value to this character. And that's the thing GamerGate 2 kind of ignores in this entire fiasco for the last year, is that gamers do not hate any of these characters. Yes, there are people who will have a problem with them, but we're not talking about them, and we shouldn't need to have to pay for the sins of their existence. They are not every single gamer, so why do these gaming companies, these DI consultants, want to come after us like we're them? Now here's the thing. I would say something Asmongold said. When you ask a regular person who's not terminally online, who has just played video games, watches movies just in a casual setting, they're not going to care about any of these things that these gaming journalists and really DEI consultants are preaching about, and how things need to be fixed, things need to be forced, we need to create the change we want to see in the world. None of that, because to them, it seems kind of crazy to push down white people and just white characters for the sake of propping up non-white characters, non-straight characters, when they didn't need that for the last 20 years.
And they know that the people that are like in favor of it, they will use this to attack somebody. And you can see this happen, like, for example, any video game that doesn't adhere to this type of thinking. Like, for example, you can look at Kingdom Come Deliverance, or you can look at Stellar Blade, or you can look at Black Myth Wukong. Think about all of the different ways that media has tried to covertly assassinate the character and undermine the integrity of the company and those games, and doing so in a way that's actually damaging to the company.
All the characters I've listed have come out in the last 10 years or so, and some a little bit older, and I'm sure there's even more diverse, unique characters throughout all of gaming history that are not white, and people still love them. Look at most Japanese-made games. The problem is, and has always been, that you are focusing on their sexual orientation first before making an amazing character. You can just sprinkle it in, and I understand the pushback to that will be, well, trans, queer, all these people were always pushed to the side. They're really given a face, a voice. We need to give that into the gaming. We need to make people more accepting of them. People are more accepting of something if you don't shove it in their face. If you just, hey, sprinkle it in there and say if you want to go look through it, you can investigate it. Not force-feeding them anything, because too much of anything is literally bad for you. Too much water, you drown. Too much food, you choke. The list goes on. That's the fundamental thing that I can't understand. Why are they forcing us to look at these characters and play these characters, pronouns, whatever, when you don't have to? And I think that undermines their entire defense, because people who have said that putting pronouns in a game is bad, putting gender identity is bad in general, is because they know there's nothing else that you can use against them. If your game is overall great and happens to have pronouns in it, you know what they're not going to do? Come after you. Baldur's Gate 3 proves this without a shadow of a doubt, that you can have queer, pronouns, all of it. But if your game is amazing and you give players the ability to choose their experience, they're gonna love it. Will there be problematic people? Yes, but that's true for quite literally everything that ever existed. Because the path you're going down will lead to every one of these characters I've mentioned not being able to be appreciated, because they could have the level of writing of any one of them. I highly doubt it, but if they were, but you lead on, well, hey, look at this queer woman, look at this trans black woman, look at this, trans man, look at all this thing. That is your first experience with said character that you don't know nothing about, have no backstory, you never had a chance to really fall in love, with that character. There's going to be people who are immediately going to be like, oh, here they go again, forcing inclusion, forcing these DEI practices, and never give that character a chance. There's nothing wrong with being gay, trans, etc. There's something wrong with forcing ideology down people's throats who didn't sign up for it when they're trying to play a video game. It's like how people don't like Mormons. No one likes people walking up to your house and trying to tell you how to live through Jesus Christ or whatever. So why would that be good in an industry where you're trying to have people spend their hard-earned money to spend hours in a fictional world? And let's just go over, I would say, some of my favorites in this list of characters. With BG3, I would say I love the most, like everybody, especially who's a guy, Shadowheart. She's so intrinsically valued for how depth and ambiguous she is as a character. And then, in relation to that style of game, I would say one of the most beloved characters is Dorian from Dragon Age Inquisition. He's a gay man. He is gay as day is long, but he lives in a world of Tevinter, which has forced the ideology of trying to basically have, what's the saying, how to phrase this? Forced marriages based on lineage in order to keep producing powerful children to keep Tevinter at the height of magical supremacy. And he's a gay man. And we get to go through what his story was like and how his upbringing was affected by the fact that he doesn't want women. He doesn't need a wife. He just wants to be happy. And that's an intriguing story in relation to him being gay. But it's not the backbone of that story. It is seeped into the law and the society that which he exists in. The way Tevinter runs its mages compared to Ferelden. All that lore connecting to that character as a part of the main reason we enjoy him, while the backdrop is that he's gay, not the forefront. And then you have Vi in relation to Arcane, and I don't have to tell you how great that show is. It is a masterpiece. The season 2, I still need to watch it at the time of this recording, and I'm sure I'm going to love it because I have been the person who said Arcane is superior to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that's a statement that will get me killed on the line. So in relation to these characters, both video game wise and other forms of media, we need to understand that being an amazing character first is the basic requirement for anyone to like you. Because you can be white, straight, whatever, but if your character's garbage, people are gonna like you. Do I need to bring up, Twilight and a few other things we all grew up watching, or we just had a disdain for either actors or actresses, characters who happen to be white, straight, but just were boring and just not entertaining in any way, shape, or form? How many different Superman reboots have we gotten? So the whole purpose of this video was that I'm trying to bring up the nuance in this entire cultural war fiasco, and it's that I believe that there are genuinely more gamers who don't care. And I mean by a statement of not caring means they don't have an opinion, or they simply just do not care what happens with these people, queer people in general. They do not care about the lives of queer people because it doesn't impact them, it doesn't affect them. They're just trying to play some video games. That's it. And they happen to find cool characters, and they happen to be gay or whatever. You know what they're going to do? I like that character. I support that character. It doesn't need to be a referendum of their entire ideology because if they choose whether or not to enjoy or Just like whatever, a character happens to be gay. Like I said, there's plenty of straight characters in video games that I can't stand. For relation to the ones who are gay or bi or whatever. That doesn't matter. None of this actually matters. What matters is the game fun and are the characters likable? Because that sells more than anything. Players are tired of paying the price for the real world issues. Players want to just play video games. And this is not the battleground for this. This, as I always said, time and place. Pick and choose your battles. If you want to come into the video game space and undermine every single thing that they have done for the sake of trying to force a outside ideology that has nothing to do with video games, people are just going to keep losing jobs, studios are going to be closing down, and the overall quality of games in the West is just going to deteriorate and die. That's why most Western games just don't make any money. It's all Eastern making, which is why companies are trying to buy Eastern companies in order to hide behind the IP or shell of them, like how Sony's trying to buy From Software, of all things, after the disaster of Concord. That is absurd. And especially with how many eyes are on the gaming community at this point. No one's going to just let you get away with trying to hide these things from us. We are too, funny enough, woke to not see it coming. And I'd like to end this video off with this kind of thought experiment. Can you really find people in your real life, not online, who genuinely hate LGBT people? Not dislike, not don't agree with, genuinely hate. And ask them if they've played any of the games I've listed from these characters, which would be Dragon Age 1, Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age 3, The Witcher, Overwatch, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Baldur's Gate 3, Life is Strange, Mass Effect. Just list off any of those games and characters and see if they enjoyed those games. Because if they did, it's proof that even someone who hates the LGBTQ could still enjoy and will buy a game and enjoy that game because the overall story of it is amazing, regardless of who the sexual orientations of the characters are. Queer people are not the issue. It is the force feeding of an ideology which throughout human history should have been told you can't change people. You can't force them to, quote, do better. You have to allow them to gain experience on their own. This is video games, guys. These are video games. Relax. GG's, guys.